Teach these boys a lesson. Break every bone in their bodies, put them in wheelchairs, bust their faces up so bad even their mothers can't look at them without screaming.
Mafia Definitive Edition is a wonderful reimagining of a classic experience. It does everything you would want out of a remake, and then some, while maintaining what made the original so great. Here are 5 things you should know before you buy. Before we start, big thanks to 2K for sending me a review code so I could make this video happen. This isn't just a remake. It's easy to hear that word and think, oh, they just upscaled the game to HD and called it a day. Remake, remaster, whatever you want to call this, it doesn't fully describe what Hangar 13 did here. They rewrote the script, they hired new actors to voice and motion capture the characters. They rebuilt the original Mafia from scratch. Definitive Edition feels like a completely new experience that is perfect for people who have never played the original, while also honoring everything that fans loved about the game when it came out 18 years ago. Perhaps what is most shocking is how much they stuck to the original mission design and the set pieces. For example, the notoriously difficult racing mission Fair Play is still really hard, and the combat in general is unforgiving. Visually, Mafia Definitive Edition is consistently impressive to me. The textures, lighting, and animations are brought to 2020 standards and look better to me than Mafia 3. There's no day-night cycle, which actually works to their advantage by allowing them to bake lighting into the textures. The result is that you get 6 to 10 different day-night weather combinations, and they all look really, really good. Whether you're in Salieri's bar talking to the Don or cruising downtown listening to the classics, this game is gorgeous. Speaking of the city, Lost Heaven is breathtaking. Hangar 13 goes to every length to make you feel like you're playing a period piece. The dialogue, the clothing, the classic American cars, the news broadcasts on the radio about Hoovervilles, the Prohibition-era signs on rooftops, the endless cigar smoking and drinking. There is no end to the attention to detail poured into this world. Every inch feels handcrafted, and if you pay close attention, I'm sure you'll appreciate it just as much as I did. Before we move on, I do want to mention how this game runs. Lots of people, including myself, had technical issues with Mafia 3 when it came out in 2016 and were worried for this game. I played Mafia Definitive Edition on my PC with a 1080 Ti and had maybe 1 or 2 noticeable frame drops in my 13 hours of playtime. This does not seem to suffer from the same technical issues as Mafia 3, which was such a relief to me. I can't speak to the console versions of the game, but PC feels much more optimized this time around.
These men were criminals, Father. Thieves. Rapists. Killers.
And God would have embraced them if they'd asked for forgiveness. Now, which one of these men might have sought redemption by working with the poor? Which one might have saved just one life?
The focus is on the story. The narrative is the big star of this show, so if you haven't played the original, I'll do my best to avoid spoilers. Everything that makes a great story is here. Excellent writing, excellent performances, and great motion capture. It all combines to deliver a superb Mafia story from start to finish. Just like the original, the narrative is told through a series of flashbacks. You play as Tommy Angelo, cab driver turned mobster. Each chapter represents a key moment as the Salieri family navigates gangster life during and after the Prohibition era. The opening cutscene shows Tommy meeting with Detective Norman in present day. This is the recurring thread which links every chapter together, and similar to Mafia 3, I love this style of storytelling. The game is going to have some tropes that you're very familiar with if you have ever seen a Godfather movie or watched The Sopranos, but I never found that to be a negative. While the Don and Tommy's buddies, Sam and Polly, come off as a bit stereotypical, I found myself getting hooked to these characters because of the writing and the acting. In fact, how well this entire narrative holds up is a testament to the writing of the original game. Part of what makes this all work is how linear this experience is. You're going from mission to mission, back to back. It's easy to get into a rhythm and get sucked into this game for hours at a time. I always felt like I wanted to know what was next, which huge set piece was about to happen, or which score Tommy and the gang were going after. It's rare that a game's story taps into my intrinsic motivation, and Mafia absolutely did. Where most open-world games let you explore the city in between missions, Definitive Edition sticks to the original's vision. Because you can't roam around between chapters, you're always either on a mission or in a cutscene. Don't expect a huge open world with tons of activities that happen within the 1930s like a Grand Theft Auto within this time period. The focus is on the objectives. However, there is a separate open world mode called Free Ride that we'll talk about more later. If you're wondering how long this game is, it took me about 11 hours to get through the story. I played most of the game on classic or hard difficulty, so there were plenty of deaths and failed mission states that lengthened my playtime. If you wanted to blow through this game, I think you could easily complete the main story in less than 10 hours. Personally, I didn't go in expecting to play this for dozens of hours. The story feels just as long as it needs to be, and I was satisfied with the length. Mafia's gameplay is simple but effective. It can be summed up as a series of corridor shooting galleries broken up by cutscenes, driving sequences, and the occasional on-foot chase. Nothing is groundbreaking in this department, but it all feels clean and functional to the point that it's satisfying. Considering the original game didn't even have a cover system, Definitive Edition's cover shooting is seriously impressive to me. It works exactly how you want it to. You can slide into cover, orbit around corners, and swap between objects effortlessly. It's not sticky, it never got me killed, it just works really well. Some of the cover is destructible too, so I had fun using that to my advantage and having to pick and choose the best cover to fit the situation. Shooting in this game is simple, and it feels a lot like Mafia 3. Enemies die in a single headshot, so it feels rewarding when I'm able to dome a couple of bad guys in a row. The automatic Tommy gun has to be feathered to maintain accuracy, and the shotgun has a limited range. There's not a large variety of weaponry, probably around 10 guns in total, but that didn't bother me. It's what I expected from a third-person shooter set in a realistic world. There are a few stealth missions that require you to sneak around undetected, but nothing that asks too much of the player. Tommy can knock out enemies one by one if he's not seen, and I noticed that the AI is less forgiving than in Mafia 3, which let you stealth kill guys right in front of their friends. Hangar 13 added a melee system, but this was probably the weakest part of the gameplay for me. You basically mash the melee button until you're able to do a finisher. There's also a counter prompt that operates like a QuickTime event, but most of the time I just preferred the shooting. Driving in Mafia has always felt unique, and that continues in Definitive Edition. Cars weigh a lot more. They carry momentum forward, and your brakes don't let you stop on a dime. You actually have to slow down in order to make corners without smashing into pedestrians. If I had to pick a favorite button in Definitive Edition, it's the speed limiter. It works just like it sounds. It prevents you from speeding, and I ended up using this more than the brakes to turn around corners. I appreciate how the driving maintains the realism of this world.
I got trouble.
We got some heat, Tom!
The guy driving way over the speed limit.
Speaking of realism, Mafia is what I would call a grounded experience. Everything that exists in this game, down to the way that cops behave and the way that cars drive, is meant to immerse you in the setting and the time period. Speeding in front of the police will initiate a chase. Killing a pedestrian will result in a 911 call and a search zone near the area of the crime. It's not like this is a simulation, but you operate within the rules of reality more so than a Grand Theft Auto game. There's a slider which lets you change police behavior, but honestly, that feels like it's cheating. Part of the fun in Mafia is to stay within the confines of the rules. I had a blast losing the police. It never felt too difficult or too easy to avoid getting arrested. I also had fun just generally avoiding them by driving on the right side of the road and staying under the speed limit. This is something I know some people will like and others will not, but I found myself enjoying playing within these restrictions. Similar to the original, there's no natural health regeneration in Mafia. You have to seek out health stations throughout the levels in order to heal up. This is one of the ways that the game sticks to its classic sensibilities. Each encounter feels like a challenge to avoid taking unnecessary damage because you're not going to have a health refill until you overcome what's in front of you. Reload times on guns feel appropriate, and you're never walking around with a million rounds of reserves in your pockets. Similar to health stations, you have to find ammo in crates or pick it up off of dead bodies. In my preview, I said I wish that the combat was harder, but I found the full game genuinely difficult. You're in for a lot of dying if you want to play this game on Classic. Nonetheless, some of the most fun I had with this game was getting into a rhythm with combat. It feels incredible to bounce between covers, clicking heads, and flanking enemies.
Is on the rise all over the state. Many commentators are blaming
No reports of someone breaking the limits of Italy.
and other gangsterism on the economic.
This is not a typical open world game, but it does have a free roam mode. I said this back in my preview, but I think it's so important to reiterate. The game is set within an open world environment, but it does not share a lot of elements with open world games that you might expect if you're not familiar with Mafia. There are no shops or stores you can visit to buy new clothes or guns. There are no side activities like gambling or clearing out districts of rival gangs for the Salieri family. Basically, what I'm trying to say is please don't go into this game expecting a Grand Theft Auto kind of experience, or even that of Mafia 3's open world, because that's the wrong expectation and you will be disappointed. I said in my preview that I wish I could explore this open world, but after diving into the full game, I quickly forgot all about that. The focus is on the story, it sucks you in, and the many set pieces it presents in various places throughout this world is genuinely intriguing. I wasn't worried about having this unchained freedom to want to go wherever I want, whenever I wanted to. That being said, there is a free roam mode called Free Ride returning from the original. This is as close to open world as you'll get, and again, it is a completely separate mode that you have to load into from the title screen. After completing just the first chapter, you can explore the entire city of Lost Heaven on your own. Starting in Salieri's bar, you can change the weather and the time of day, you can change your outfit, you can use any weapon that you found in the game, or drive any vehicle that you've unlocked. There's no sets of side missions that link to the main story, there's not even dialogue that connects what you're doing in this open world. But there are some fun challenges that encourage you to explore. On the pool table in Salieri's bar, you'll find a note giving you the first of many challenges. It sends you to a specific point on the map with vague details, so it plays kind of like a scavenger hunt. Once you've solved the clue, you have to complete a challenge. The first one asked me to drive a really fast car, like hard to control car, across town within a time limit without crashing even once. After completing that, I unlocked that car to use in my garage. From my count, the first challenge unlocks about 12 more, around 10 to 12 each with their own objectives, and some of them will seem absolutely insane. For example, I unlocked a clown costume and a golden shotgun after killing a clown and stealing his body from a bank vault. According to Hangar 13's lead designer, these missions are paying homage to the original game's Free Ride Extreme mode, which tasked you with surreal challenges like shooting a sea monster or tailing an invisible man. With these challenges, I can see people squeezing a bit more time out of the game because they're light, playful, they're a complete alternative to what you get in the main story, and they offer the freedom of a traditional open world experience after you're done with the final mission.
You're going to love this wine. It's a... Don Salieri! Welcome, my friend. Welcome.
Good to see you, Pepe.
Yes. Hey, come. Our guest has arrived, eh?
Mafia Definitive Edition feels like it was recreated by people who genuinely love the first game. It's a classic experience brought up to today's standards in all the right ways. I am so happy I got to play through this story for the first time, and I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I did. If you like this kind of video and want to see more from me, make sure you're subscribed and click the bell to receive a notification every time I upload a new video. I have a ton of really exciting previews lined up that I can't even talk about yet, but I know you won't want to miss them, so make sure you're subscribed. Big thanks to my patrons Bill, Grass, David, Casey, John, Kamal, Spyro, Tom, Jackie, Level 42, and Matthew. If you didn't know, I have a Patreon where you can support me further in exchange for exclusive updates and behind-the-scenes content. Check out the link in the description below for more information. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.